G'day mate, and welcome to Captain History with me, Jitty. Today I want to look at one more island tour for update number 1, and that is this particular map, which has, just let's double check, just on 5,000 years spent in it, because, well, as I was working my way through the creator map, digging my way down to the depths, and I hope you enjoyed that particular Let's Play, I had a second island running during, Twitch streams. I was doing a whole bunch of streams on the weekends looking at this particular map that, if I turn off the fog, started off as, well, the Insula Mortis map. Yes, it started looking like this, and now looks a bit more like this. Yeah, this is the perfect example of what happens when Jetty has far too much time and decides to make the island flat. At the same time, on this particular map, I did something a little bit different, and that is if we turn on the layers, you'll notice that, if I turn off mining and dumping and tree harvesting, if I turn off the iron, because we've got a giant pile of iron over there and copper, a giant pile of copper there, the map is a little bit unique when it comes down to resources. There's none left. The island has been mined free of all resources. So I'd like to give you one last tour of one last island, and this is this particular island. But before I get to that, I need to ask a very important question, of course. And that is, what can I borrow a like? I just like to borrow a like. I like to borrow a like earlier in the video. Didn't enjoy the video? Didn't think this video was worth your particular like? Then by all means, you can have it back. But it does mean that you don't get to watch the rest of the video. Alright, I think we should start down here in the heart of the town with, of course, the Tomb of Captains. It was past Jetty's fault. It's always past Jetty's fault if something breaks. Also, we're going to have a few things dry out because I've turned on permanent sunshine, so we don't have to deal with the weather effects. This island was unique in the fact that, anything I wanted to do on this island, I did do it. So, yeah, the town, for argument's sake, has, it has a poop processing with a secondary poop processing, because we went over 10,000 people, which means that's sort of the point you need to have a second poop processor, and had provisions for a third poop processor, because I was not worried about how many workers or how many people we had on this island. Not at all worried. Also, on top of that, you may notice that the ground underneath the town is slightly different. It's depleted uranium. We have the strongest foundations known to man underneath the whole town. Unfortunately, the whole town was not put on depleted uranium to start with because it didn't have enough. So the whole town had to be moved over 2 tiles. Yeah, you don't know what to move over the town by 2 tiles to replace all the soil underneath it. Also, we have, food. There's a tiny bit of food here. Every single one of the different food markets we've got 2 of. So we have a total of 1,600 food already hooked up at the town. It gives me 20 months worth of total food, along with a warehouse attached to the front that is fully stocked with more food. Also, you might find a somewhat familiar food build right beside it. This is where the food build was first tested, I guess. Tested, and some errors were worked out. Some errors and faults were worked out. This build is slightly different. It's also slightly more extreme in the fact that we have just a chicken farm or 2 or 3 over here, along with just a tiny amount of, animal feed processing. Also, I 100% stole the idea from, I want to say it was... Actually, I'm not sure whose island tour it was. I won't put my foot in my mouth. But yes, I definitely stole the idea of hooking these up to 2 output belts, just to simplify the processing. I did have them on individual belts every 3, one of these, but it sort of maxed out the belts a little bit and had some problems. So this was the new system where each one of the mixers that's outputting animal feed outputs to 2 separate belts. It just balanced the whole system a little bit better. Also, this particular island has gone a little bit overboard with the the processing of aromatherapy devices. Yes. There's an awful lot of them here making an awful lot of fuel gas. I should also mention that this island is also completely running on contracts. It has reached the 100% stability by, everything comes in and out via contracts. Yes, there is a small amount of iron over there and a small amount of copper over there, but once they're mined out, it will be running on contracts. Okay, so town-wise, a whole lot of town. Oil processing, obviously directly beside the town, because where else would you want your pollution being generated? Along with the data centers, also right beside the town. That way, quick access to those supercomputers. The other thing I should mention is this is also running all the steam for all the refineries, is running off a fast breeding reactor this time. Not as normal reactor, went full fast breeding one this one. Also, a whole lot of underground pipes with a whole lot of fuel in them. We'll get to the fuel in a little bit. Over here, we do have the wonderful blueprint for trash processing. Trash and poop processing, along with biomass processing for about 11,000 people. This one chokes a little bit because I'm a little bit over 11,000 people when it comes to biomass, But apart from that, works perfectly fine. Also, I chose to keep my compost as compost because, well, the compost goes for a tour. We'll get to the compost in a little bit. Over the back here, we have our clean water input because this does need supplemental water in, and therefore that comes from a couple of boilers down here, mainly burning animal feed. I'm using animal feed in an awful lot of places to make an awful lot of food. We do have, well, animal feed going that way, also wood going that way. We'll get to the wood in a second. As for the compost, it pops down here and gets turned to a whole bunch of dirt. Now, dirt normally you throw in the ground, and this is how we have a beautiful, beautiful, look at the grass. Look at the miles and miles and miles of grass. The greener grass is actually compost. Direct compost just dumped straight onto the ground. It's so clean, apart from, well, there's a couple of underground pipes that are just sticking out here and there. But apart from the pipes, so green, so green. Yes, whole lot of compost being turned to a whole lot of dirt. But the dirt actually has another purpose, and so does the wood, so does the animal feed. So, animal feed, dirt, and compost pop over here. This is like a little side project that got thrown together sort of late in this particular playthrough. By the way, if you want to have a look at well, the whole island from start to end, I will link you to my second channel. Again, link down in the description and in the pinned comment below. It's my second channel where I upload all the Twitch VODs. So everything is there if you want to have a look at them. And there's an awful lot of streams. I think there was 40 streams and they're all like 10 hours long. So you have been warned. But hopefully it's enough to get your Captain of Industry fix from now until, well, update 2 releases. So over here, we have animal feed being burnt here and here to provide water, because, well, steam to make water. We also have excess animal feed coming along here. Also, extra fuel gas from, well, the aromatherapy digesters also comes over here. The fuel gas gets burnt, turned into, well, water into steam. Steam gets instantly cooled back down. It's not doing anything with it. I'm not even bothering turning the high steam into low steam to recover more water. We're just accepting the loss. And I'm turning all that, well, CO2 into a whole bunch of graphite. On top of that, our wood also pops all the way over here, a full 400-ish belt. It's not running at 450, but it's close to, and pops in here, which actually provides all the coal for the island. Like all the coal for the island. Coal actually heads over to this bucket and this bucket to provide coal for the whole island. And excess coal comes down here that also gets, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. And excess coal goes in there. Yeah, there's a few places coal goes. Yeah, okay, so animal feed pops down here and it runs into a whole bunch of boilers. Again, same story. I'm literally, you're burning coal right now, literally turning animal feed and water into steam to get the exhaust. I want the exhaust. The exhaust is actually the main processing plant down here, and that is to get more sulfur. I need more sulfur and I need more CO2. As for our dirt, it also comes down here and mixes with a whole bunch of coal to make bricks, because again, I stole a lovely idea where well, I need to have construction part 2 for contracts. I need to have construction part 2 to make limestone, and of course construction part 1 requires bricks. So I'm like, well, rather than using my precious slag that I could trade for sour water or rock that I have to import with uni, I'm gonna make bricks. I'm gonna make a crap ton of bricks with all the dirt I'm getting from compost. I'm going to use that as the ingredient. Yeah. So yes, this produces a decent amount of sulfur. Not enough sulfur, honestly. The islands, it could do with a little bit more sulfur. And the sulfur gets trucked across the island to sulfur import. Let's pop across to... let's not do the factories just yet. Yeah, let's do the rocket cellars. So we have 2 rocket cellars here with just a depot or 2. I can easily pump out, well, basically enough to keep both these rocket launch pads running flat out non-stop. And the factory doesn't even skip a beat. Okay, over here we have our imports for all our goods into the island. We do have our glass rocking chairs, also our household appliances, our consumer laptops, also medical 3, and recycling out. Recycling out is actually compressed. It needs to be compressed because recyclables. We're over 450. I'm over 450, so I don't have a choice. I either had to run a second belt all the way through, well, the factory that's behind us that I'll show you in a minute, but there's not a lot of room to run any extra belts. Or I could run, well, I could run it through once it's been compressed. So we chose to compress. Also, I should mention very quickly, our captain's office. We have plenty of food, 1 and 2 turned on. Also, health boost 1 and 2. I'll explain that in a little bit. Well, vehicle saver, ship fuel saver, overloaded trucks, maintenance reducer, and recycling increase 1 through to 4. Yeah, I have Unity spare. A decent amount of Unity spare, even after a ridiculous amount of contracts being turned on. Yeah, and a whole lot of edicts, and the rock mine maxed out and sulfur mine maxed out. The rock mine doesn't really need to be maxed out anymore, but, you know, it is what it is. In fact, more often than not, whilst I've been running this playthrough, household goods has been turned on extra high as well, but I've finally turned it off because we're using it to make more rubbish. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, up here, we have an awful lot of spaghetti. Like, do not get me wrong, this map features an awful lot of piping. I have fuel gas, I have naphtha, I have water, I have crude oil, I have diesel, I have fertilizer 2, and fertilizer 2, and fertilizer 2, and fertilizer 2. We should talk about fertilizer 2. Plus we have nuclear reactor fuel, plus I have sour water, plus I have a couple of spare pipes. Yeah. No, we'll come back to fertilizer 2. Over here I have my first import. My first import being vehicle parts for crude oil. My second one being lab equipment 3 for uranium ore. I don't really need a lot of uranium ore, but I need it to be able to claim that I can run sustainable lease, because we do need a little bit of uranium ore in the long run after I've chewed through all the depleted uranium. Plus I have a coal import for lab equipment 2, in saying that all that coal needs are actually coming from wood that we're mining ourselves, well, harvesting ourselves. And then finally I have sour water for slag. Sour water, of course, runs off to the oil refinery, which has not needed an extra boost on the sour water strippers. This is running perfectly fine with 2, 4, 6, 7 of them. An 8th one would have fit in nicely, but I just didn't plan that far ahead. Okay, so this is, well, one half of the docks. This side is our sulfur import, which technically, as long as this is staying full, it means that I actually am a positive on sulfur. Finally, I haven't been positive on sulfur for a long time, so maybe I can turn off the sulfur import. Over here we have more lab equipment, this time lab equipment 2 for copper, and we have consumer electronics for quartz. Quartz makes its way around the map, all the way down here where it's crashing the sand. And the main reason being for that is, well, there's multiple output belts for sand. Sand is going to go into quartz, obviously. It also heads into glass processing, and it heads into copper processing. So they're all based along this side of the map. The sand also disappears over to right over the back for gold processing, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Up across the front of the island, or this end of the island, yep, we have naphtha heading over to make our plastic. Also naphtha and diesel heading over here to make rubber here and rubber here. We also have, working our way back up this set of docks, we have our construction parts for limestone. We have our service for gold ore import. And then we have unused. This is going to be servers again for iron ore. And then finally, I have a rock import. Rock import was working overtime for a very, very long time, because as you can see, the map is very, very flat. We've had some areas that we need to fill in. Then we have the farms. We just have 1 or 2 of them. They are currently running out of water because, well, it's permanent day currently, or permanent sunshine, yes. So they get a little bit low on water. Normally, they don't have an issue. But these are all running, they were running off a standard reactor named after Paulus Brunner. Yep. I was naming all the trucks and all the, a lot of the items around the map after subscribers over at Twitch. So by all means, you know, if you want to catch me in future live streams, whether it be Captain of History or some other game, by all means, come follow me over on Twitch. I stream every single weekend. And this is now running off a fast breeding reactor. Fast breeding reactor, which is pumping out our super steam into the same thermal desalinator as we had before, pumping out just a tiny bit, no, that angle, just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit of brine non-stop to make sure all the water tanks are normally full to run all the farms. Yeah, I technically probably should double the whole thermal desalinator build, but I frankly can't be bothered. And yes, these run in fuel pipes that literally wrap the entire map. Yeah, we'll get to those in a little bit. Around to this side, we have the forestry area. I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's 8 of them. And if we turn on our overlays, I have 8 forestry areas. And basically there is how many? 41 tree planters, 25 are idle currently. I went a little bit overboard. And 17 tree harvesters, non-stop rolling through the area, mowing everything down. And we have seedlings coming in on a belt here. I stole this from Takakonoma. Yes. Their particular island where they had well, the seedlings running around the map. And then I have an input box for wood, another seedling box. There should be an input box for wood right about here, but I guess I missed it. And another input box for wood, another output box for seedlings, more wood, more seedlings, and then, well, a large wood box that's sort of a bit of a buffer. It brings in any wood it can at the rear and then, well, shoves it out to make sure both these belts stay full at all times. Yeah, these guys are chopping an awful lot of wood every single cycle. Where are we? Wood. Production last year 7,800. Yeah. It's been pretty okay at like 7,000 every year, roughly. There are some ups and downs years, but yeah, 7,000 every year, and no, that's not going to work. It hasn't had enough time of just flat runtime because we've been doing other projects. In fact, I've been filling in large parts of the island. But yeah, it's got a little bit of digging and a little bit of tree chopping. Yes, it keeps the boxes full and allows us to be self-sufficient on coal. Over here we have copper being mined. This is, if I just clear some space, 40-ish tiles tall, and you know, it's only about a mining tower designation wide. Yeah, it has been chopped back. It did come all the way out to this wall and all the way out to this wall, but it has been chopped back over the years. We are slowly, very, very slowly burning through it. Over here I have nuclear processing. So first off, depleted uranium. I'm good for a little bit, like another 3,000 years or so, and then I'll run out of uranium. And once we do, the system will automatically change over from using depleted uranium to using yellow cake. So it's already set up, ready to go. We do, well, where do we start? Okay, we start here. So we are bringing in uranium to be processed into depleted uranium ore crushed, obviously, to then get processed in the yellow cake with sulfuric acid. Acid's made in this little auxiliary build over here. Of course, that is going to get cleaned with some brine, turned to water, blah, blah, blah. Not actually sure where the water goes. Probably into the reactor. And the brine comes from the reactor. Yeah. We also have our blanket fuel being made right here. We had some expandability in case I want a couple more reactors. I think I can support 25 fast-breeding reactors on this particular island if I bothered to build the rest of the build. I haven't bothered. Over here, we did have our spent fuel, mox fuel reprocessing. We've finally processed all the spent fuel, mox fuel on the map. Also, we had our single machine to turn our enriched uranium into core fuel to boot the system up. Over here, we have our core fuel spent back into normal core fuel, and then we have our little auxiliary build. This is going to provide us all the molten glass that runs down behind all these buildings to make sure that they can pack up their fission products. We have an exhaust scrubber which is hooked into you and something else. I don't remember what else. Actually, maybe it's just hooked to you now. No, that pipe. Yeah, it's just hooked into you. So occasionally when you run an output 18 exhaust, we're going to capture it. Yeah, it'll eventually run. And of course, this is running off the clean water as a priority from you, from the wastewater treatment plant. We have sulfur being imported to make sulfuric acid. Again, clean water comes from, well, that same source, also technically nuclear reactors. All our fission products pop down here and feed into, well, one of our many radioactive waste storages. I actually think I only need 4 of these, maybe 6. But I did the maths on assuming we had many, many reactors running all the time. This is the total amount we'd need. Of course, all the retired waste pops in here. It gets crushed instantly. Oh, and for any recyclables that happen to end up anywhere on the map, it gets converted straight into pressed recyclables, put in here to be sent off to, well, the recycling center over there. Fast-breeding reactors, yes. There is one here. This is dedicated power. There is a second one here, dedicated power. There is a third one that, in theory, never makes power now. This is making just the tiniest amount of fertilizer one. So you're outputting superheated steam. The super steam heads in here and creates just a tiny amount of hydrogen, just the smallest amount. And of course, all the depleted steam rolls into one of these towers to be cooled back down. The hydrogen pops over here and combines with an awful lot of nitrogen from an awful lot of air separators and gets turned into an awful lot of ammonia. The awful lot of ammonia gets converted into an awful lot of fertilizer one. That is 60, 120, 240, 300, 360, 420, 480, 540. 540 comes through two 450 pipes and meets here at this connector, because connectors technically have a higher throughput, and fills up one very, very large tank, whereupon we take, well, sorry, I should also mention the whole build's doubled. It's mirrored. So there's two of them. So like 1,000 fertilizer one per minute, which runs through three very, very full pipes right the way around the map. We'll talk about those shortly. Yeah, you're going to be low on water because it's permanent sunny mode. Yeah, and it's been so since we started, which was a couple of years ago. Excess steam, should there be any excess steam, I don't want the system to back up and fail. We'll head over to these and run these power generators. These are semi-low priority because I don't ever think we're going to have a situation where things back up. And I think this has an overflow somewhere in here somewhere. I'm not sure. We have a greenhouse, a second greenhouse, a third greenhouse, and a fourth greenhouse to just provide a never-ending line of saplings. Never-ending. There is always more saplings needed. The base chews through saplings. Also, these are being fed fertilizer with a target 120%. I don't know why we're not at 120%. Yeah, I really don't know why we're not at 120%. Yes, because we're also fitting in fertilizer one. We'll come back to the fertilizer one. The organic fertilizer. Yep. So these are receiving an awful lot of fertilizer, whatever they need to basically keep them up and running. And then we have yet another fast breeding reactor for more power. Our fuel pipes. Our fuel pipes start over here. And I'm pretty confident things will run forever because this technically doesn't have any core fuel in it. This has 186 in it. Also, we're going to need blank fuel technically to run things. There's 210 in that pipe plus 500 in that pipe. That only brings us to here where we have another 138 with another 153, which brings us to here, which has another 600 with another almost 600, which brings us on to this power plant, which has another 129 with obviously another 135-ish, which brings us to this little pipe here that has almost 4,000 core fuel in it. The blanket fuel is much the same. It does tend to hold a little bit of spent fuel, also a little bit of, well, enriched blanket fuel, because these are very long, skinny tanks that flow all the way around the island, all the way back through around where we're making dirt, into here where they branch off to this reactor, and also branch off right here to continue flowing around the map with another 3,000 core fuel in it to get back up to this reactor. Sorry, this reactor over here. Yeah, I made sure we'd be good on fuel for a little while. As for our Iron Mountain maxed out at 115 tiles, the 100 mark being right here, above ground level, before I started having us dig it back out. The best news about this is all pure iron. So from memory, if I can zoom out far enough, iron starts about here on this map and has a giant mountain and also travels all the way up to this corner. So all of that area had to be excavated down to a depth of about 40 or 50, and all the iron popped up into one small little pile for later. Yeah, we're slowly digging our way through that, very, very, very slowly. Continuing on to the other half of the production line. So we can see there's a lot of shared blueprints. So we can see I have well, the microchip modules, and I have 4 down here with another 4 over here. On top of that, I have, well, pretty much the exact same concrete slab build, which is now basically retired because we're importing concrete. We're importing bricks right here, and they're sitting as a priority over, well, the concrete slabs to make construction pass 1, because I'm not building anything anymore. And it's just using for trade. We're actually perfectly fine just using our bricks, and that means I have a way to get rid of compost. One way to get rid of compost. We also have, well, iron smelting. I have steel smelting. I actually have excess steel production that has never been turned on. We have the main steel box with a whole lot more steel production. On this side, production-wise. So let's start here. We have the microchips. On this side, we have medical 3, followed by, well, one part of medical 3, the morphine, plus also the anesthetics. Then we have sugar processing, also corn mash processing, to make sure we always have a choice when it comes to ethanol. I'm actually somewhat limited on how many sugar machines I have, so this is one of the reasons we whacked in some corn mash. Somebody might have boo-booed the maths a little bit, but corn. Sugar's prioritized into making antibiotics first, before we also have disinfectant added to the list. And again, we're making our own ammonia. Oh, no, there. And there's another ammonia machine. Yeah? Maybe there isn't another ammonia machine. Maybe one machine's enough to run everything. I honestly can't remember. You have one piece of corn. That's not annoying at all. Yeah, I can't remember. But we have ammonia being made on site. We also have another machine grabbing all the graphite. The graphite's dumped out into a giant graphite belt, which we'll find the other end of shortly. You're going to make our medical supplies 3. You're going to make our medical supplies 2. You're going to make our medical supplies 1. Don't forget, we are using this for one of the contracts. Actually, we're not using this for contracts. There is an option to use it for contracts, but I have opted not to for right now. Plus we have our sharp things over here. Next up, we have vehicle parts 1 for vehicle parts 2. As you can see, I over prepared a little bit. We didn't need quite as much production as I thought. We have our laptops here, and we're getting close to max. Like, I might need to steal some of this area if needs be, to whack in more consumer electronics if I need it to increase the trade imports for quartz. Luckily, I was fine. We had enough production for both the town and for the contract, but it was close at one stage. We also have our household appliances right here, and also our glass rocking chairs. We have Science 4, Science 3, Science 2, and of course Science 1, with the corresponding paper mill right here. And, well, paper mill. And I have 2 chem plant 2s plus a chem plant 1, because that's what the ratio called for. On this side, we have recycling. Let's start with recycling. We are bringing in, like I said, basically a one-third capacity belt, because it's bringing in compressed recyclables pressed, and we are running into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 waste sorting plants, and they are just keeping up. There isn't a situation occasionally where things just back up a little bit, especially after we get the flu. We produce extra recyclables when people have the flu because they burn through medical supplies faster. So we do have a situation where the copper scrap gets a little bit too full. Behind that I have maintenance 2. Maintenance 3, followed by 2, followed by 1. Then I have our construction parts 1, which as you can see is prioritized for bricks first. Then we have construction parts 2, construction parts 3, construction parts 4. Yes, this has been running this way forever. I don't do that much building when we're playing live because everything happens gradually, whereas during the Let's Play, it's like, we've got a new episode, bang, 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 and we're building non-stop for 40 minutes. Here, it's a little bit more gradual, a little bit more relaxed. We do have Electronics 3 with Electronics 2. With our PCB build, we're actually maxed out on both Electronics 3 and Electronics 2. I can't produce any more. I didn't allocate room for any more. Electronics 2, I can go to the next machine. So technically I have 50% more capacity. Technically. Electronics 1, same story. I am producing, well, that's 100, 200, 300, 400 total. I can upgrade both of these machines to get another 50 each. So I'm at like 800 production and consumption. I could probably stretch it up to 900 total, but that also means I need more copper. And I don't have any copper smelters paused. So I'm not sure if there's actually enough capacity in there to do that. Finally, we have a whole lot of mechanical parts. One thing I really wish I'd done differently is put a space in here, because these are, well, space these out by tile. I do have room to retrofit in a space between one build and the other, but technically I've maxed out one build. Yes, only half it's running currently, but there are times, and have been times in the past, when the factory is actually running at full speed, where it is 100% maxed out, and I don't make mechanical parts fast enough. Of course, we have servers for another export. Behind our smelting, so behind our smelting for our iron, etc., we're actually on the sides. Let's work on the sides first. So right here I have our steam low, gets converted into clean water in a pile of thermal desalinators. Also, we're making salt right here from our brine. That, of course, is needed to head into here and head into our glass mixers. Also, salt continues from that build straight into our food factory. And on this side, we're doing much the same. I have all the steam low from all the smelters on this side being converted straight into water right here to be fed back in the system. Also, all the exhaust is captured and fed into the many exhaust pipes, and then fed into the many scrubbers. These guys are just about all running at all times, and their low pressure steam is fed into these thermal desalinators to create even more water. We are going through a certain amount of water on this particular map. Right here, I have a whole bunch of chem plants running both recipes. So running both the standard carbon dioxide recipe, plus also the alternative recipe that makes extra graphite but uses coal. Again, I find some issues, like you might not output because you can't get the CO2, you can't get the graphite out, so you won't process more CO2. This is generally mitigated by putting a tank somewhere in the system, but this was originally set up at one stage with having two separate builds, one doing just CO2 and a second one doing just the coal recipe. At the moment, I have a little bit of excess from when we're running two, because we're prioritizing out this way and also dumping out that way. Here I have an input box for graphite, because there are a couple of places we are making graphite around the map, and they come here. They come here and then they side load into this balancer and make sure they're prioritized in, because this is mostly from CO2, but there is a chance that occasionally it uses some coal as well. Finally, I have gold processing. I had actually had four of these running flat out at one stage. We were digging up the gold as fast as we could and processing it. I still have 95k gold in stock, but I have been slowly moving things. Yep, I do. Let's just do two in the middle. I have been slowly emptying out our stockpiles over the last 1,000 years or so, just by removing a couple of warehouses and running that into there instead. And technically, currently, this belt has also been paused for 1,500 years because there's a tiny bit of gold scrap that we also need to process. Yes, we bring the gold scrap in, it gets instantly turned into fresh gold. If there's no room, it gets instantly compressed and then stuck away for later. And by removing those two boxes, they head in here, where they side load in here, and they split 50-50, which means they eventually empty. It's very much an eventually factor. As for down further, we just have our gold processing, and then of course we have the many belts for food. Food and wood and things on this base, on this island, is something I just really took to the extreme. So not only do I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 farms, and then I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 rows, so I have 90 farms total. In a lot of cases, these are outputting a belt and a bit worth of food, so a 450 and another 100, so it's about 550 food. And then it's merging with another set of farms, and then merging, I don't know, this has 2 dedicated belts coming out. They're not full currently, but it varies, especially with me having it been permanently dry. Obviously all the yields are probably down, waiting for water or rain. So these all come through here, and then they go through an 8-lane belt balancer to balance out all my food. Also 4 belts worth of 4 flat belts worth of food as well, and 2 belts worth of wood. Our food goes up and through, and we'll follow that in a second. And meanwhile, the wood splits here. 50% of the wood goes off to making construction pass 1, and the other 50% ends up going right across the map over to here, where it's processed into, well, all our coal needs. Food is kept mainly, majority of it's kept together. It does need to go through some insane sorting right about here, so we can separate our corn to do our medical for our corn mash. Also separate our poppy, that is poppy, and also separate our sugarcane out right here to run it into, well, medical. And then whatever we don't need gets kicked back into here. We had to use a couple of priority balances to make sure that we sort of cleared the belts and moved things out of the way before we head around and into food processing. And food processing, don't go over 4 belts. Let's put it that way. Don't go over 4 belts. You do not want to try and fit 8 lanes worth of sorters to make sure things are filtered off and shoved off to the side for every single different food build or belt. It's a bit of a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. As for the rest of the island, I don't think there's much else. We do have a little vehicle plant here. We do have a stone bucket here, which features a stone belt that has literally traveled halfway around the map and kept getting moved from location to location as we need to fill areas in. If I zoom out, we filled in an area here, which was copper. Yeah, it was last the copper. And then this bucket sits here because I was filling in this whole corner here. As for island fill, if I look at waste again, in the lifetime of this particular island, we've made 28 million waste, and I've only consumed 2 million of it. The rest of it is don't dig too deep under the grass. Just plant all the plants nice and shallow. You've been warned. And that's what these 2 buckets were. These 2 buckets are running off these 2 belts, which run off these 2 belts, which run through the middle of the food builder. Of course, they do into just a waste collector or 2. Just a small amount of waste collecting we had right here to make sure the trucks would fill in the holes as fast as possible. But yes, this I think brings us to the end of this particular island. This was an amazing mess. It was definitely an interesting island. I really enjoyed playing the Insula Mortis map. I enjoyed things like trying to work out how to make, you need to build it. Working out how to make a 8-lane balancer for food to make sure we could fit in all different 8 lanes of, well, sushi belts worth of different types of food, to then separate out one type of food type and split it off to the side, to then run it through a balancer, to then run it to storage, to then take all that canola, take all that canola and convert it into cooking oil, to then, right here, shove it all into a giant tank before taking the excess and obviously, well, as with all excesses, convert it into diesel and then take the extra ethanol and burn it off directly, and then again make some graphite to then use that graphite to run all the arc furnaces, all the many arc furnaces. Yeah, this island was a blast. So I think with all that said and done, I don't think there's anything else we need to cover about this island apart from you can produce a lot of coal if you have a lot of trees. Yep, and with all that said and done, I think I'm going to leave this video here. So, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed my foray into Captain Ministry update number 1. And yes, if you're interested in having a look at this playthrough, you're looking to see how this evolved, how I managed to spend 1,000 years stuck in the bottom left starting biome, the starting little crossbone, I guess you could call it. Yeah, we didn't move out of there for 1,000 years. In fact, I actually had data centers up and running, and also did one of the final levels of research before I even bothered processing gold or digging gold. Yeah, I did things backward. I did things very, very backward because, you know, it was a Twitch stream. There was lots of people to chat to and egg me on as we did stupid things together. But anyway, like I said, if you're interested in watching it, there is a link down in the description and in the first pinned comment below. All said and done, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed my little forte into a very, very, very flat island, apart from the 2 giant mounds of resources that I do need to dig up, and the trucks are digging up slowly. And I will see you in, well, the very next series, update number 2. Anyway, that's it. I'm out. Thanks for watching. See you next one. Bye.